Hi, I'm Tracey Soltis.
And I'm Kali Alfaro. And you're listening to the Mind Body Studio, a place for anyone who wants to reach their full potential, thrive, and create a life filled with vitality.
Each week, we'll bring you our expertise, giggles, and a splash of quirky to explore real and relevant topics to help you along your life's journey.
We'll bring you science, psychology, and practicality to real life issues.
So, thanks for listening. We know you're going to love it. Alrighty,
Hello.
Welcome back, everybody. Look, I'm excited for today's episode because...
What are we talking about today, Trace?
Well, today we're going to talk about disconnecting from technology and what it means to be human.
So does that mean that our listeners should switch off?
No, I reckon they should stay here for the next 30 minutes and then they should switch off. What do you reckon? Because I post about that sort of stuff all the time on my Insta page and I'm always like, everybody get off your phones because it is true, right? People spend a lot of their time scrolling through social media, don't you think?
I'm going to throw a bit of hard facts out there.
Great.
When I used to work for child and youth mental health, technology addiction was one of the biggest issues that we were faced with in mental health issues.
Why do you think people are so addicted to technology?
Well, it has been scientifically proven that the amount of stimulation that you get from a phone, the colours, the sounds, the movement is the equivalent of sitting in front of a pokey machine in terms of the reaction that the brain has. So it goes into that sort of pleasure reaction where you sort of feel engaged, the brain is getting overstimulated, and you begin to create an addiction. Yeah. So it is genuinely an addiction.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense. I mean, because we know that the eye is the main antenna for light. So it makes sense that if you're actually stimulating the eye constantly and giving it that sort of communication and information that you need to be alert and you need to keep releasing certain hormones, it kind of makes sense that, people, I think, very just are unaware of picking up their phone and the amount of times they pick up their phone or, their iPads or whatever it might be. They don't actually realize. They think that they're just on there for social media, but it's actually probably more of a chemical reaction in the brain that's going, oh, you know what, I need that light stimulation now, you haven't given me the light. And so...
And the human brain is really smart, so it learns quickly. So what this means is it is creating a neuroassociation to the screen or the phone or whatever device and feeling pleasure, feeling that stimulation. Yeah. So then the brain goes, device equals stimulation. Yeah. So as human beings, we want to be stimulated. The problem is we are overstimulated. So we are noticing... in the health arena, we're noticing that people are tired but wired. This is one of the problems, and this is a result of too much technology.
Yes. So let's go back to basics a little bit and let's talk about what it means to be human. So at our basic level, because we're going to start from there. And if we're talking about stimulation of the eye through light, then the one thing that we can actually relate with that is the sun. Okay, I love the sun. I never used to be a big fan of the sun. You'd always catch me on holidays hiding and covering my skin because I was worried about skin cancer. And it wasn't until I learnt a lot more about how to use the sun and the correct ways to use the sun that I'm actually one of those, I'm a massive advocate for correct and responsible use of sunlight and how important it is to actually expose the eyeball without glasses, without contacts, to the light from, sunrise through the course of the day to sunset so that we're getting the correct hormone levels in the body through the course of the day. So
and for people that might be listening and unaware, the amount and type of sunlight that you get sends a signal to the brain for you to stay either alert, which is why it's natural to rise with the sun, or if the sun begins to go down, it has a different quality, frequency, and vibration, and it sends signals to the brain to start to slow down and start to create melatonin, getting you ready for sleep.
Yes, that's right.
It's super important for us to be in balance with the natural cycles of nature.
Absolutely.
And unfortunately, these devices are disconnecting us from that.
Yes, and I think it's probably the number one thing that the number one issue I see in here with my clients is that sleep is affected big time, and that causes a lot of knock-on effects with people's hormones and regulating different chemicals in the body and just their overall well-being, their mental health. So many different factors come into play when we're not getting enough sleep. And that's because the blue light obviously is still stimulating the eyes late at night. Okay, you've got these light waves that are like racing through the eye. They're keeping that, that pineal gland pumping out the cortisol. People are wondering why they're so stressed or they're having issues with depression and anxiety. It's because of the overstimulation and the oversecretion of the different chemicals that are actually meant to keep you alert and then keep you asleep. And those sleep hormones just aren't getting released at the right time.
Totally. And I say to people that have difficulty sleeping that if they're looking at their phone in bed or half an hour before bed, it is the equivalent of giving a child a bag of lollies and expecting the child to sit still and relax.
Yes.
You are like bombarding the brain with chemicals.
Yeah.
It is impossible. Some people can look at the phone and fall asleep. They don't have a problem. But if you have a sleep issue, you have to look, and we've talked about this in other episodes, but you have to look at sleep hygiene.
Yeah.
You have to understand that you are sending a signal to the brain to stay alert, awake, and it's stimulated, and you can't just expect it to shut down.
Yeah.
So it is an issue. So if you are noticing that you're spending too much time on a device, start creating, device-free habits. And, as Tracey said at the beginning, what does it actually mean to be human? And we weren't made to be in artificial lights, artificial rooms, looking at screens and not being in touch with nature. So we're not meant to be wearing shoes and driving cars on bitumen. All of those are layers upon layers upon layers that disconnect us from the natural balancing and grounding effect of the earth. So when we are so disconnected and people are so overstretched and relying on these devices because the brain has learned that it's like a dopamine hit, relying on these devices to feel good or to feel even connected, right?
Yeah.
That is actually disconnecting you.
I know. So let's talk about what it is to be human. So who are we as a species? What is it that we're supposed to be doing? I mean, I guess the number one thing is we've talked about going up with the sun and going down with the sun sort of thing. But we are naturally nomadic people who should be roaming the earth. And that's not something that we are aware of or that we do in this common era that we're living through right at this second, this point in time. I mean, it wasn't that long ago that our species was roaming the earth and moving with the seasons and moving with the light. So I guess one of the number one things is connection to earth, connection to nature, connection to the electromagnetic field that we are actually part of, all of the energy. And I know that we've spoken before in our episodes about what we are as far as, subatomic particles, moving through the earth just like everything else. And there's so much that we can't see, so much that we cannot see happening all around us. And I mean from an energy and light perspective, but we are naturally here to move.
Absolutely. And if you look at nature or you look at the process of life, everything is constantly moving, evolving, changing. This is the only thing we can ever be guaranteed of. And it is the one thing that humans struggle with the most, adapting to change, right? So the more you move, and this is also one of the reasons why both Tracey and I are huge advocates of going out there and having new experiences and going out there and exploring, nature and, growing your own vegetables and, like jumping in the ocean and doing all sorts of things, because it allows you to see that, every day I go to the beach, the sand is different, the rocks are exposed in a different way. There's, everything's constantly ever changing. When you plant your own vegetables, you go out in the garden and if you're like me, you get excited because it's like there's a little sprout.
I know.
Right.
Well, I'm the same. I mean, I'm regularly posting about the broccolini and silver beet from my garden on my plate because I get so excited when I can just go out the back and I could just cut this stuff off and throw it in my pan to eat it for breakfast. That's awesome. But I think also and this is kind of a juxtaposition kind of thing, is one, we've got this social media aspect of connecting with other people, but humans are meant to connect, but not in the way that we're actually doing it. So connection, it's completely warped the way that we now connect with other people. We do that through a screen, through technology. We don't actually do it in a harmonious, connected way where we see people and we're able to, feel people's emotions and feel their energy. And, we are so much more and so much more powerful than I think a lot of people realize that we are. And so those connections have been lost over time because now we just go to our phone and we think, I'm going to call such and such and I'm going to connect that way. But we're not getting a real connection with that person because we're not actually, we're not present. For starters, a lot of people are not present when they go and catch up with other people. We're not really hearing what people have to say because we're so busy as well. And we're not really generally feeling the vibes that we're supposed to feel, the energy that we're supposed to feel when we connect with other people. That's quite rare now. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
I reckon that's a massive topic, and I absolutely agree and love what you've said. And I'm going to add to it that I feel that we are in this phase of deception. Like we feel that we are connected, or someone might have 12,000 followers or a million or whatever, right? And you're connecting and you're answering to messages and you're liking this and you're liking that and you're scrolling through this. And you might feel like super efficient and whatnot, but it's all surface level connection.
Yeah.
It's not that deep, nourishing heart-to-heart-felt connection. And something I'm observing globally, because I coach a lot of people around the globe as well, is that with this whole COVID fiasco and people being locked down and borders have been shut, I think it has allowed people to realize how much we actually miss being with people that we love, being in physical contact, like hugging someone.
I know, that physical touch.
Totally, like hanging out in the same physical space with someone, right? And as you said, feeling that vibe, right?
Yep.
So,
I mean, because that's part of your job and my job is that when we have our clients, I mean, it's being able to drop into a space that's safe for the people that we're there to support, but you're able to feel what they feel. You're there to take on, like for myself, I mean, when I have clients, because I don't take on a lot of clients every day because I do find it quite draining from my energy, because I want to be able to drop into a space where I'm able to be open so that I can really feel what's going on with the person that's in front of me. I can really hear them. I'm watching their body movements. I'm looking.
The present.
Yeah, that's the thing. And that's, to me, there's not a lot of that in everyday, communication with people because it is so superficial.
Exactly. So I think we are, society is tricking itself. Even like the whole term social media. There's nothing really social about it. It's bloody antisocial. I don't know about you, but I absolutely hate sitting at a dinner table and people are picking up their phones. It's like, it's disrespectful to the person that is in front of you. Or if you're on holidays and there's bings and dings and noises and reminders going off.
Yeah.
We are like, so much suffering is about being stuck in the past or in the future and not being present and not being able to fully experience something, and that it is sort of like a lack of ability to pay full attention to something.
Yeah, because we're so overstimulated, we got to have
And
like
this whole
3-4 things going at once, right?
But not only that, Trace, like I don't know about you, but like I even notice it myself, and I don't spend too much time on devices. But you know, like previously, maybe 5-10 years ago, I could have easily watched a 5-minute video.
Yeah.
And now if it's over 30 seconds, it's like, oh, next.
Yes.
Next, right? So our attention span becomes shorter.
Yeah.
Our tolerance becomes less.
Yeah, and people are crankier now, right?
So we need to be aware that this is not allowing people to actually develop strong and resilient cognitive abilities that are directly related to being present for another. If you are present for yourself, the likelihood of you being able to be present for another and be there without thinking about what your phone is doing, what you're going to do, what you didn't do, and just fully be present, you're just not there. You might as well not be there.
Yeah.
So I think it's so important to allow ourselves to learn from nature, to be in nature, because that is where we are part of nature, right?
Absolutely.
And we're disconnected from it.
Yeah.
There are some beautiful things about technology. There are some life-saving things about technology.
Absolutely.
There is absolutely no doubt.
Yeah.
But we shouldn't be in front of screens for hours upon hours a day.
Yeah.
So, and we should respect and honor the people that are in front of us.
Yes.
And part of that, and I'm like really old-fashioned in this, part of that is not putting the phone on the table.
Yeah.
You put the phone on the table. You are sending a message to the other person. You are important to me until that phone dings.
Yes.
If that phone dings,
Yes.
you are no longer important to me.
Oh, yeah, that's so true.
It's awful.
Isn't it? It's so true. I've had this, I've had frustrating experiences like that myself, in that, you just feel like the person's not there, not present with you because the phone is on the table.
And if you are addicted to the phone, it is actually really, really incredibly hard
Yes.
to pay attention to the other person when you are used to picking up the phone every second of every day.
And look, it's not
So
even...
it's actually physically hard to not pick it up.
But you know what? It's not even just a social media thing. It is also too that... What is it from a psychological perspective, what is it that draws people to negativity? You know, like how the news at the moment, like it's all chaos, right? It's very rare that...
Always chaos.
Yeah, but it's never, there's no, I know, it's true. But, you know, like people love reading and getting themselves caught up in all of the drama of, because let's face it, news is not really truth. There's elements and perceptions of truth and
Snippets of information.
We can take bits and pieces of what is said in media as truth, but we do need to research for ourselves. It's always the way. You should never take one source of information as fact. You should always look at multiple avenues. Knowing that ever since I've been a scientist, I've known that you never take just one point of view. You have to look at it from different angles and then make a decision.
And we're multidimensional beings, so you have to look at it in a multidimensional manner.
Yeah, so we can never take it's same as what we're having a conversation right now, and you should never take what we say as fact, as 100%.
Research it.
You have to get multifaceted sides of a particular topic and make a decision for yourself on what sits with you.
What resonates.
What resonates, what sits with you, what perspective you have on that particular topic. But what is it that draws people, do you think, to the dark side, the negativity? Why do people love getting caught up in the drama? Social media.
I think there's a lot of reasons that go beyond the scope of our podcast today, but just to throw a few out there, I think a lot of people are actually living really boring, mundane lives, and they are not stimulated by their own existence. And so this, this sense of, there's been research done, when you see a car crash scene, people slow down to see the blood splatter factor, right? Like it's almost like there's this need to be reminded of our own mortality. There's this need to kind of look at what's gory and what's a bit dark because it makes us feel alive. Like that's a bit of a paradox, but it's true.
Yeah.
It makes us feel alive and, you know, on some level it's a little bit exciting, right? So, you know, assess your life. If you do have a boring, you know, mundane existence, assess what are you actually doing or what do you need to do to change that up a little bit instead of it being stuck on the news to feel a little bit more alive. Yeah. Like, I don't know,
it's the attacking people that gets me. The attacking people on, you know, Facebook and all of those other things. Well,
I think we unfortunately live in an era where people are all courageous and brave and can pull on a face behind a screen, but face to face, I think it's a very different story.
Yeah.
So we have all of these, you know, bullying kind of heroes behind keyboards.
Yeah.
But really, how many people are actually able to, A, respectfully and B, courageously say those things to other people in their face?
Yeah.
But also from a non-punitive perspective, because that's a little bit punitive, it's also a sign that people are stressed out and they need to vent somewhere.
Yes, that's exactly. There's a lot. That's exactly right. There's a lot of built-up frustration.
Devices will increase your stress levels.
Yeah, 100%. Like if you're not sleeping properly, if you're stimulating yourself constantly, you're going to be a pretty cranky individual. Like you're just not, you know, wanting to function, or you can't function the way that you need to be and that you owe to yourself. You deserve to be functioning. I think because if you're coming from a calmer place, if you're able to calm your central nervous system down, you're able to take self-care. I mean, you don't really have an interest in going into all of the stuff that, you know, that happens on there, because it really doesn't, you know, interest you. You're just not even interested in getting on there and going, oh, what's going on today? You know what, I don't really care. I'm too busy going to run my bath and read my book and, you know, just light some candles and
it's all external, right? So when you are constantly being stimulated by all of this attention and information and drama that is external, you are constantly viewing your life in relation to that external source. Yeah. You don't allow yourself to go inwards. You don't allow yourself to connect to your own essence, to your own belief systems. And so you are, and you know, it's also been researched when people sit in front of a TV, and I'm sure it's similar to when you're in front of a phone, your brainwaves will go into deeper brainwaves. So you are more susceptible to being brainwashed by this information, and the amount of information that people are exposed to through our devices, through access to knowledge and information is more than our brains can take. So the brain does go into burnout. Add all of the stuff that we've talked about in the past. If you have inflammation in the brain through poor nutrition, if you're tired, if you're stressed, if you have illness or imbalances, or there are environmental toxins, all of that is going to be exacerbated, and that is going to turn, you know, that's going to have a result of people being cranky, irritable, and wanting to have a fight because you're in fight, flight, or freeze mode.
Yeah, and you raise a really good point. I actually am reading a book at the moment by someone else, like another colleague within our field, and it's really interesting. And I didn't really think about it until I read this in her book, but she mentions how the human brain really doesn't have the capacity to take on the amount of information that we currently have. I mean, we are racing so far forward with our computing and with our quantum computing and all of those devices that are being built. But the human brain, although we're so incredibly intelligent that we're able to develop these things, just doesn't have the capacity to take on all the information.
We're not machines, though.
No, we're not.
We're developing machines and then getting humans to use those machines like as if we are machines, but we're not.
But that's like the same thing of, like all the processed foods of making foods that aren't meant for human consumption. Exactly. There's like, oh, well, just eat anything that's packaged because with all of these artificial ingredients in it as if we're machines, but we're not. We're exactly the same as lions and tigers and every other species that's on the planet. We are animals. Like that's the fact. I mean, we are meant to eat whole food. We are not meant to eat chemically processed.
And a variety of food,
yes,
right? And,
And I know that sounds so basic, and I know that we repeat this over and over and over again.
We will continue to
repeat it
because it's so important.
It does blow my mind. Like I literally went into the shop the other day. It's very rare, when you have children, and I really enjoyed going for my food shop the other day because I had a bit of time to myself, and so I could read I regularly read packaged foods because I'm looking around at all the new products that say is healthy, gluten-free this, blah, blah, blah. So I'm constantly looking at these packages, seeing what ingredients are in them. And it blows my mind the amount of artificial, synthetic stuff, additives, preservatives, sulfates, nitrates, all of that stuff that's put into foods and then is packaged as healthy food, right, for human consumption. And I'm telling you, that's not meant to be eaten by us.
And you combine that with the electromagnetic frequencies that are emitted by things like computers and phone towers and your own personal phone device and the modem and the wireless in your house. And, before when we used to go to school and the, school computer was the only computer that you were exposed to.
Yeah, remember the old school modems?
Yeah, exactly. Or even before that, right? You would go to school and there would be a computer in the classroom and you would take turns sitting at the computer.
Yes, I remember that.
Right?
Yep.
And now everyone has a computer in their pockets.
Yeah.
So think about how quickly we have now magnified the potency of how much electromagnetic energy is being emitted, right?
Yeah.
I was horrified to learn that so many children sleep with their phones under their pillows with like the Wi-Fi signal going off.
Yeah, wow.
Like I am no scientist, but I can tell you right now that is incredibly unhealthy for so many reasons.
Yeah, it's definitely been studied.
And that is a sign of addiction.
Yeah, it's definitely been studied, the effects that mobile phones have when they are in close proximity to the body. Yeah, so
absolutely.
We know that there's damage that can occur from that.
So we need to understand that although sort of like we're going off a bit of a tangent, but it's all related, the Industrial Revolution provided so many wonderful things. And now this technological kind of revolution is unfolding faster than we can even conceive it. It's getting a little bit out of hand, right? It's getting out of hand because I see more and more people disconnected, lonely, sad. And when you are constantly exposed to comparing yourself, there was research indicating that when, for example, a woman would look at a beauty magazine in the waiting room of a doctor's office, her self-esteem would drop by about 50% in something like 2 minutes, right?
Yeah.
So imagine if that was what our mums went through, right?
Yeah.
You would go to the doctor, hopefully not very often, but let's just say someone that's sick, you go to the doctors once a week and you have that experience.
Yeah.
Now you have that experience on tap.
Yeah.
24/7.
Yeah.
So that is just one example. When we are constantly exposed to other people that are prettier, smarter, more fortunate, more successful, or appear or promote themselves to be this way, and just like the news, it's only a snippet of their life.
Yep.
It is not their entire life. Your self-esteem is going to drop. Your level of stress is going to increase. your disconnect to the people that are actually in the room with you is going to increase.
Yeah.
So then suddenly you are going to start creating a series of psychological and interpersonal and social problems.
Yeah, that's true. But I feel as though people do need to be accountable for that comparison with others as well. I mean, everybody is beautiful and unique in their own way, and everybody's here to experience something, you know, whatever that is, whatever their journey is about, they're here to experience that for themselves. And I feel like the number one thing that catches people is the way that they compare themselves to everybody else. So like,
but I think that's human nature. I think it's a really big flaw that we have as humans.
Yeah.
But I think that is human nature. Like, we are being socialized from such an early age from school.
Yeah.
Oh, see, Johnny did better than Sam.
Yeah, yeah.
Why don't you learn from Johnny? He can teach you something.
Yeah.
Or, it's competitive. It's punitive.
It's messages.
Critical.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, yeah.
So we get socialized to be that way.
Yeah.
But I want adults to take responsibility for, like, if you can take something away from today's talk, is how can you be more self-approving?
Yeah.
How can you be more present to yourself?
Yeah.
How can you be more present to the people that are actually with you in the room
And
not on the screen?
Yeah, not be attached to a artificial device that's right in front of you. And I think for me, the thing that I really want people to take away is I really want to encourage people to think about the devices that they have at home and how advanced they are, and all of the information that they're actually taking in and consuming on. The overwhelming feeling that you get, the energy that's depleted from constantly being overwhelmed by all the information you're filled with every single day, and realize that this is only the beginning of this journey.
What would our grandparents think? Right? What would our grandparents think?
Throw that bloody thing out. What
If
are you looking
we
at?
said
I
to
can
them-
imagine it now. Like, what are you looking at that for? Like,
So if we said to our grandparents, you know what, in 100 years' time, you're going to have this device where you can do your banking on it.
Yeah.
You can call people. You can send messages to the other side. You can buy your groceries. You can date. You can play games. You can look at the weather. You can take photos. You can edit videos. You can, buy shares on the market.
Yeah.
You can do like all of these things. I reckon, no joke, I reckon they would be like, no, but I like going to the bank because I get to talk to the bank manager and I know him.
Yes.
And then I talk to my neighbour who's waiting in line.
Yes.
And then he might invite me over for dinner. And then he might tell me about the stock that, that he bought. And maybe, his stockbroker, we're going to invite him over for dinner.
Yeah.
And there are connections.
Yeah.
It might not be as efficient.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
But there are these human connections. So
Yeah.
I'm all for technological advances, but you cannot replace human connection.
No, but there has to be a limit because we're going too far now. Like, we've gone too far and we can't keep up. Like, I've had my own moments of burnout because I literally cannot keep up with my work, my home life, my bills, all of the stuff that's on your phone and all of the things that you're supposed to be ticking off every week. I'm like, oh my God, I've got so many things to do on my technical device. I don't want to do that anymore. I just want to chill out and look, because I'm old now, right? Look at the birds flying past off my back deck. And you know what? I've created a life where I don't have to worry so much and I don't get caught up on it. But it did take a moment in time where I had to go, you know what? I can't do this anymore. Like, it's just too much information.
We all get sucked into
Absolutely.
it, right?
We don't totally get sucked into it. But I definitely
want to normalize it for people that are listening. It's the addiction is real.
Oh, yeah. It's the number one thing I see.
Getting sucked into it is real.
Yeah.
But find ways, find practices, find spaces.
Yeah.
And habits.
And know that you can say no.
Totally.
You can say no to this stuff too.
You can put your phone on do not disturb. You can put your phone on flight mode. You can turn it off, God forbid, right? And so
some people would be like, no, I'm going to turn my phone off.
What do you mean?
What do you mean turn my phone off? I'm not going to turn my phone off.
Horror.
These girls, I don't know what they're talking about. Turn your phone off.
So what we really want to encourage you guys to do is we want to remind you that you guys are human, and part of being human is having human connections. Yep. And that is what makes us feel alive. That is what makes us feel connected. That is what makes us feel loved. And having respectful human connections, be respectful of the person that is in front of you. Mm-hmm. Be respectful of the time that you are spending with nature as well, right? So,
and go out and be silly sometimes with your friends.
Oh, not just sometimes, regularly.
Go play, go do stuff, jump on a trampoline.
We're going to go and do a really cool resin art class.
We're going to learn how to make resin tonight. Like this is what we're doing after we finish recording, right?
So we're, at one point we also decided that we needed to really just connect doing something fun because that's who we are.
And can I point out too, neither one of us has our phone out while we record. Have you ever noticed that? Yes. Like we are always 100% present when we are recording for you guys, because it's so important that we are giving all of ourselves to you guys. Like, so neither one of us has any technology next to us right now, which I think
we love it.
We love that.
Because you go with the flow, you allow creativity.
Yeah.
Today, Tracey doesn't have 4 pages of worth of notes.
I don't. I have
We
none.
have, and that is also good. Like, she's learning from that as well.
I'm learning.
You can go when you are present, you allow ideas to come to you that haven't been preconceived, that haven't been prepared, and the devices don't allow us to be present. So I want you to understand that. I want you to please, if you have children and they have devices, God forbid, make sure they're not sleeping with them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And create activities that are fun. Mm-hmm. Do art, do music, cook together, be in nature, watch a sunset, and don't take a photo of it. Just watch it. Enjoy it.
Yes. I love that. Absolutely love that.
The sun is setting right now and we have a beautiful art class to go to. So
we do.
I hope this has given you guys a little bit of dread as to how bad the phones can be, and gratitude for everything the phones do, and also some sense of control of some things that you can implement to
absolutely, because the whole
some positive changes.
It's all normal.
It's part of life
and we
now.
get it. It's part of life. It's integrated into our society. It is what it is. But at any point in time, you have the choice. You can put that phone down and you can go and do your own thing. So now that we're finished, we encourage you to put down the device. Put down the device.
We're sending you guys lots of love.
Yes.
Connect to nature. Connect to yourself. Turn the phone off for a day and
go to the person that you might live with and give them a hug, okay? Or pat your dog, or give your kitty cat a cuddle, whatever.
Give yourself a hug.
Give yourself a hug. Run yourself a bath. Get off your device right now. Go and do something for you.
We're sending you lots of love and nature's energy, and we hope that you have found a way of connecting with yourself.
See you later.
See you later.
The information, views and opinions expressed on this podcast should not be used or treated as a substitute for nutritional, medical, psychological or other advice by a qualified health professional. Hosts and guests on the podcast express their own opinions, experiences and conclusions. Nothing in the podcast should be used to diagnose, treat, cure or prevent any medical condition. The podcast is not intended to replace any medical or mental health treatment. All information and advice provided is for general well-being and does not take individual cases into consideration. Neither Tracey Saltis, Kali Alfaro or any sponsor endorse the opinions, views or conclusions expressed or shared on the podcast. Tracey Saltis and Kali Alfaro take no responsibility for any symptoms or consequences as a direct or indirect result of the podcast.